Welcome back, everybody, to the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise here on MLB The Show 20. As today we are in the middle of July, going over some All-Star festivities and pretty much going up to the trade deadline today. I'm sorry the series has been a little bit inconsistent upload-wise the past couple of weeks, with Madden coming out, like 2 weeks ago, and 2K dropping tomorrow. I've put a lot of focus on to preparing those series and making them as good as possible. So, the Pirates is slowing down a little bit, but I definitely have no intentions of ending this series anytime soon. We still have a lot of work to do with this Pirates squad, and the fun is just getting started. So, we're currently 57-39 going into the All-Star break, a game ahead of Milwaukee for first place in the NL Central. Obviously, the past 3 seasons, it has only been us and Milwaukee at the top of this division. The Cubs have always been in third, and then the Reds and Cardinals have always brought up the rear. It seems like it's just us and Milwaukee competing for the division every year, and this year is no different. Both teams are still putting to the pedal to the metal. As we look at the rest of baseball, I do want to get a gauge of what the rest of the majors looks like. Nationals currently leading the East. Rockies lead the West. They had the best record in the NL. Out of nowhere, I mean, the Rockies? I don't think anybody really expected that. If the Pirates don't win the division, it looks like a wild card will probably be likely. Currently, the Padres are the number 1 wild card. They're having a really good season, too. And then the Brewers have clear possession of that second wild card. So it seems like the 5 playoff teams, barring something crazy, are nearly decided already in this conference. In the American League, you got the Rays and the Yankees, who have both been really good. They are in a tough fight for this division. The Indians are probably going to clinch the AL Central with like a month left to go in the year. They are 67-31. They've had a phenomenal season up to this point. Maybe a team like the White Sox or Twins can get a wild card spot. And then the Oakland A's, 61-34. So currently, I think there are, like 6 teams in baseball with a winning percentage above 60. That's quite a lot for the American League. I mean, there are some really, really good teams at the top. Yankees are like 10 games ahead of the Astros, and Houston's currently the second wild card. They'll be in a tough race for that spot with Toronto, the Angels, White Sox, and Twins, with some of these teams on the outs looking in. So there are a lot of very good baseball teams who've got their pedal to the metal right now, trying to gun for a World Series. This Pirates team has obviously been very solid as we look at the lineup. Brian Reynolds has been meh. O'Neal Cruz has obviously had another great season, just like last year. Josh Bell, the power has not been as good as in past years, but he's hitting .322. There's nothing really to complain about. Josh Bell is still raking at the plate. Benny Lang, the second-year pro out of Japan, has had a breakout season. Currently on pace for probably over 40 dingers, hitting around 280. Obviously, he was outstanding early on in that month of April, and he has continued to play well since. Carlson's obviously been a disappointment. Our 2 rookies, Wander Franco and Pablo Cairo, are both still playing well. But Francisco Mejia is the player I really want to talk about real quick, because he's had a very strange season. In the middle of May, he was hitting like 150 with 4 home runs. Now, here at the All-Star break, I don't know what's happened, but, I mean, it has been a renaissance these past couple of months for Mejia. 26 home runs, which is tied for the team lead. 275 batting average, 350 OBP, 614 slugging, 964 OPS. I mean, he has put up probably some of the best numbers of late in all of baseball these past 2 months. I mean, he has been unbelievable as of recent. He was atrocious to start the year, and he's just been insane since. The bench has obviously been a mixed bag. Nico Goodrum, he was recently acquired. He's had a good year. Tony Kemp and Travis Swaggerty are playing well. Astudillo and Kutch, however, are not playing well. Swaggerty I want to talk about in particular because he was playing really poorly in April. Then he got hurt, was sidelined for like a month, and ever since he returned in the beginning of June, he's actually played really well. The pitching is where things get fishy, especially the rotation, who has definitely been the biggest letdown of the team this season. Jameson Taillon's had a very good year. The ERA is a little bit high for our ace, but not really going to complain. But then we get to the middle of the rotation. Julio Urias has not lived up to expectations. He's a free agent at the end of the year. I mean, if he plays like this, I can't see us bringing him back. Mitch Keller's been even worse. Keller, out of nowhere, had a breakout season last year. He put up all-star numbers, and this year he's just been god-awful. Thankfully, Jordan Yamamoto's been solid, and then the recently called-up Santiago Osuna has had a great start to his career. 31 strikeouts in 34 innings pitched. For a guy like Osuna, who really struggled striking out batters in the minors, I'm really happy about that clip. Looking at the bullpen, Adonis Medina's been great all year as the line reliever. If Urias and Keller continue to struggle, Adonis Medina's moving into the starting rotation. It's that simple. Unlike last year, the middle relievers have actually been very good. Wander Suero, Emmanuel Clase, and Raisel Iglesias have been phenomenal. Michael Givens as well has had a good year. I know those numbers aren't great, but he's just had some bad outings recently. For the most part, he's been pretty consistent. The back end of the bullpen's been shaky, though. Will Smith has not lived up to expectations. Neither has Pedro Baez. And then Ken Giles, ERA is in the 4s. WHIP is above 140. I mean, that's not where we want it at all. So, assuming we're going to be buyers at the trade deadline, and spoiler alert, we are, we're going all in on pitching. That has to be the move. So, looking at the futures game, we only have one player. And that is starting pitcher Patrick Magana, who has had an excellent season in Double-A. He's going to be a starter in the Major League rotation next year. I'm going to tell you all that right now as a pretty much fact. We're not going to player lock Magana since he isn't starting today. Unfortunately, the AL ended up defeating the NL by a score of 7-3 as we move on to the Home Run Derby. Every Home Run Derby in this series is won by Josh Bell, but unfortunately that'll change. No Pirates are in the Derby this year, which is stupid. I'm going to explain why. Clearly, it's done by whoever has the 4 most home runs in each conference, but Benny Lane and Francisco Mejia have more dingers than anybody in the American League. They both have 26. I mean, leaving out Francisco Mejia is one thing, but leaving out a 20-year-old Japanese sensation who mashes the baseball out of the park in Benny Lane, you're telling me you don't want him in this Derby? That's dumb. Believe it or not, the championship round was the 8 seed versus the 7 seed, and the 8 seed ended up winning. That being Francisco Lindor of the Cleveland Indians. So, even though the American League hitters haven't been as powerful, they ended up performing better than the National League guys here at the Derby. Also got a trade right before the All-Star game. Reliever Dan Winkler is going to the Blue Jays in exchange for second baseman Kevin Biggio, who's now going to the Mets. This is a very stupid trade by Toronto. They traded a young, talented infielder for a 32-year-old relief pitcher who has not played well this year. So going into the All-Star game, I do want to look at the rosters first. Steven Strasburg getting the start here for the NL. You may notice that Santiago Osuna is listed as one of the starting pitchers in the All-Star game. I'm not counting him. I assume this is because he got enough votes to make the AAA All-Star game, so Santiago Osuna, unfortunately, is not a Major League All-Star this year. I'm sure that'll change in the near future. The way MLB The Show does, relief pitchers in the All-Star game is really stupid. Because they only have, the best non-closer and then, 6 or 7 closers. Even if they're having poor seasons, like Ken Giles, like AJ Minter, whose ERAs are in the 4, they shouldn't be making it over relievers whose ERAs are in the 2s. Ken Giles has been one of our worst relievers this year. There's no way he should make it over a guy like Wander Suero, Raisel Iglesias, or Emmanuel Clase. So, that's kind of strange, but I guess Giles does count. Another one of our All-Stars is Francisco Mejia. He is going to be the starting catcher. He's been so close to making the All-Stars team for 3 years in a row. This year, he finally gets in as the starter, which is very fun. First base, we have another problem. So Josh Bell is in. Good. But where the hell is Benny Lane? Back to my point with the Home Run Derby. Why on God's green earth do you not want to see a 20-year-old Japanese sensation who can mash the cover off the baseball in the All-Star game? The sad thing is, Lane got more votes than quite a few players who ended up starting in the All-Star game. I get every team needs at least one, but Benny Lane deserves to be an All-Star. I mean, you're telling me D. Gordon, who's hit 2 home runs and has been pretty much average this year, deserves to make it over him? I don't know. Third base, there's another one of those minor leaguers, Jake Knoll. Shortstop, there are more minor leaguers. There's also O'Neal Cruz. So, we have 4 All-Stars total, as you can see. Ken Giles, who doesn't deserve it. Josh Bell, O'Neal Cruz, and Francisco Mejia. I think probably the only problem, as I've been saying, is Giles needs to be replaced with Benny Lane. Also, Pablo Cairo is listed, but remember, he had enough votes to make the AA All-Star game, I assume. I mean, he was only in AA for a month, so that doesn't really make sense, but oh well. Here's a brief look at the American League All-Stars. Got a few new names in there, like Seth Brown is the first baseman of the Oakland Athletics. I would imagine he's playing DH because, I mean, Matt Olson's one of the best defensive first basemen in baseball, and I know he's still with the A's in this series. We're going to player lock Josh Bell because we have in every other All-Star game, I think. Francisco Mejia is starting, so we could have picked him, but I felt like using Josh Bell today, who's hitting as the DH in the National League. He did not get the most votes at first base for, I guess, the first time in this entire series because of Freddie Freeman, whose numbers are filthy. He's hitting like 340. So, I mean, it is well-deserved that Freeman is getting the starting spot at first base, so I'm not going to complain with Josh Bell only getting the DH. Strasburg on the mound. We might have to see this name in the postseason. If the season ended today, the Pirates would play the Nationals in round 1. If Pittsburgh wins the division but doesn't get the top seed, it's probably going to be the Nationals who they take on in round 1. So let's go to the first inning. American League's at 1-0 as Josh Bell swings at the first pitch, and he will weakly fly out to third. Miguel Andujar with the catch, who's had an outstanding season this year with the New York Yankees. Let's go to the third inning now. Blake Snell is on the mound. National League now leads it 3-1. Why not make it 4-1? As Josh Bell crushes it deep into left field, and it will get over the fence. Bell with the solo shot, and the NL will extend their lead as it's now 4-1. Bell hits better against righties, but just hit a dinger off of one of, if not the best left-handed starting pitcher in all of baseball. On to the fifth inning now. NL leads this game 2-4. Runner on second with 2 outs, and once again, our good friend Josh Bell chokes with runners in scoring position as he is more blind than Helen Keller. I don't know what he was swinging at. So entering like the 7th or 8th inning, Wilson Contreras would enter the game as a pinch hitter for Josh Bell. As we super sim the rest of this one, Ken Giles is on for the save, by the way, and he would be successful. The National League wins the 2023 Midsummer Classic by the final score of 4-2. Josh Bell ended up going 1 for 3 with a solo home run in this game. Chris Paddock with the win. Blake Snell, who allowed 3 runs in the third inning with the loss. The NL did not score after the third inning. The AL did not score after the 5th inning. As we briefly look at the box score here for the American League, all their other pitchers outside of Blake Snell only allowed 1 run. Cole Clevenger, Ryu Osuna, Roberto Osuna, that is, not our Osuna, and Keone Kela, the former Pirate, came in after the third inning and shut the door. For the National League, Francisco Mejia went 1 for 3. He scored a run, and O'Neal Cruz did not get an at-bat, which kind of sucks. Ken Giles actually pitched 2 innings in this game, believe it or not, to get the save. Strasburg got the start, allowing 1 run in 2 innings. Chris Paddock with the win. Flaherty, Soroka, Suarez, and Hader all with holds. So looking at the minor leagues, both All-Star teams that featured our players ended up winning. PCL beat IL 6-1, and then the EL East beat the EL West by a score of 4-3. Do want to take a quick look at the minor leaguers of ours who did make the All-Star game, starting with the AA. No starters, unfortunately. We do have a few relievers, including Rob Hills, who was one of our draft picks last season, along with Patrick Waldron. Waldron's numbers are filthy this year, by the way. Santiago Chavez, the catcher, made it. He hasn't been too special this year. Kiki Javere made it at first base, so that's fun. And then continuing along, Koizumi Satoshi out in left. He's having an outstanding season. Probably going to get called up to the majors next year if he continues to play this well. Estevan Florial along with Art Rosado make it as well, so our whole outfield is in the game. Meanwhile, for AAA, once again, no starters. We do have one of our relievers in Gordon Brito, whose numbers are insane. He's a guy who might eventually reach the majors fairly shortly. First baseman Jorge Velasco ended up making the game, and then in the outfield, we would get pretty unlucky. Only 2 All-Stars for the AAA team. Both our AA and AAA teams are actually playing fairly well this year, so there'll be certainly teams that we'll be keeping our eye on heading into September. So the very first series after the All-Star break is a 3-game set at Miller Park against the Brewers. We all know every series from here until the end of the season against Milwaukee has the utmost importance considering it has been a very tight race for the division for multiple seasons now. The Pirates took the division last year after barely losing it the prior season. So let's see if Pittsburgh can try to get some momentum to open up the second half of the season. The flame-throwing right-handed Brandon Woodruff is on the mound this year for the Brewers. He has had a really solid year, ERA right at around 3, whip at around 1.3. Pretty much what you ask from a number 2 to number 3 starter in your rotation. As here's Oneil Cruz, the first-time All-Star with 1 out, going deep into right center field, his 23rd home run of the campaign. Pittsburgh quickly on the board. They now lead at 1-0. Julio Urias gets the start for the Pirates. Obviously, it's been a down year for him. Now, if he plays better here in the second half of the year, all of that can change, but not a particularly ideal start as Ben Gamel gets that one past the glove of Brian Reynolds. Not a good defensive play by Reynolds, as Jorge Polanco will score standing up, and the Milwaukee Brewers will quickly tie this game up. Following batter Christian Yelich gets this one into pretty much the same spot. That'll be an RBI single for Yelich, and the Brew Crew are quickly going to lead this game 2-1. A very high-scoring start to the ball game. Miguel Sano now up, following batter, grounds this one right to Wander Franco. 4-6-3 double play. The Pirates infield is more chemistry than a science project as we move on to the top of the second. Brian Reynolds going down at the high heat. That one clocked in at around 99 miles an hour from Woodruff. Bottom 2 now, Tyrone Taylor. He's going to go down on the beautiful curveball as Julio Urias painting the corners right now. On to the third inning, Oneil Cruz going to take a hack at the outside pitch, and a very nice defensive play by Brandon Woodruff prevents the base hit. Speaking of Woodruff, he is going to lead off the bottom of the third, one of the better hitting pitchers in baseball, and it'll show right there as Woodruff rips a single into right field, so the Brewers have an early base runner. A few batters later, it's Ben Gamel who's going fishing. Didn't catch anything with that bait. On to the fourth inning. Miguel Sano, he's just a window shopper. Say with me, kids, because he's just looking. Omar Narvaez now goes down on the slider. Julio Urias really starting to look good here. Keston Hiura now swinging way too early at that pitch. Looked like he almost swung before the pitch was thrown. On to the fifth inning. An early hitter's duel is now turned into a pitching duel. Here's Brian Reynolds with a 1-out hit, trying to potentially lead Pittsburgh to a rally. Reynolds now on a 10-game hitting streak, which is very good to see. Hopefully his average can get into the 300s before season's end. Following batter Francisco Mejia, the first-time All-Star, as the starting catcher, ripping a single. 2 outs now for Pablo Cairo, and he's going to chase that outside and low slider, swinging a little bit too early at that pitch. On to the bottom of the fifth now. Brewers trying to start this one hot, as Tyrone Taylor will be safe at first. Benny Lang unable to make the play at third. Benny Lang has had a fine year defensively, obviously adjusting to a new position, so it's certainly still been a challenge. Following batter, Ronald Guzman goes deep into right center. His 16th home run of the season. I have to assume the Brewers lead the majors in home runs. I mean, there are some ridiculous home run totals for some of the guys on this team. Yelich has nearly 40 already. Keston Hiura has like 27. I mean, this team has mashed the baseball this season. Ben Gamel now with a triple. Another bad defensive play on a Gamel extra base hit by Brian Reynolds. So he is now 90 feet away from home. And that'll bring up Christian. The ladies are yelling for Yelich. Crushes this one once again into right center. His 38th home run of the season, which leads the majors by a very large margin. I don't think there's anyone within 10 of Christian Yelich right now. Pirates will make the pitching change after that. Looked like it was a solid day from Urias, but went downhill in the fifth as the long reliever Adonis Medina is in. Don't be surprised if Medina is going to be a starter on this team very soon. Medina's day wouldn't get off to a flying start per se, as Miguel Sano would rip it into left center. However, he'd be gunned down, trying to be aggressive for second. And the Pirates defense says, Sano has 25 home runs, by the way. Another player who's just crushing baseballs this year for Milwaukee. On to the top of the sixth. Look at Ben Gamel, stroking the outfield like a gazelle. Beautiful grab by him. Brewers would make a pitching change. Jake Faria is now into the game. We're still in the 6th inning, by the way. Woodruff allowed a couple base runners. Faria enters as he will strike out for rookie Wander Franco. Dylan Carlson as well will strike out. So Faria gets out of a little bit of the jam, and the score will remain 6-1 as we move on to the bottom of the 6th. Here is up at the plate, launches a rocket right at Benny Lane, who will make the grab. Runner on second now for Ronald Guzman. That probably would have been a ball, to be honest. However, he swings and misses at the low slider, and we move to the 7th inning now. Pirates have not scored since the top of the 1st, and that won't change, at least quite yet. Brian Reynolds goes down looking. The pinch hitter, Nico Goodrum, is now up 1-2 pitch, and he's going to look at the outside fastball. I mean, the Brewers were just absolutely in control on the mound. I mean, they had so many pitches go right on the edge of the strike zone. The control from this Milwaukee staff today was outstanding. Emmanuel Clase is now in the game as he strikes out the pinch hitter, Teoscar Hernandez. 1-2-3, 7th inning for Clase. He would strike out all 3 batters as we move to the 8th. Yimi Garcia is in for Milwaukee. He will strike out Pablo Cairo. Benny Lane now up at the plate, rips this one over to third. Bad throw over to Keston Hira. Lenya safe at first. So now Milwaukee with a costly error. The Pirates now have 2 on here for Wander Franco with 2 outs. That one looks like it's going to be a base hit. However, Jorge Polanco makes an incredible play, probably saving a run to end the inning. 6-1 still the score as we move to the bottom of the 8th. Christian Yelich with another base hit. He has been the best player in baseball this season, and it is not even close. He's probably going to hit for the Triple Crown, and he realistically can carry this Brewers team to a division title if he continues to dominate. As Miguel Sano strikes out, Josh Hader now into the game to try to finish this one off. Brewers comfortably lead this one by 5, so they should be fine. As with 1 out, Brian Reynolds going down on the slider. Obviously, Hader is known as a flamethrower. That slider only went 83, but his fastballs can do damage. 97, that one clocks into Francisco Mejia, who will fly out to right. Yelich makes the grab, and Milwaukee gets the win 6-1. Not the ideal start that the Pirates wanted to open up the second half of the season, as Milwaukee will now tie Pittsburgh for first place in the division. So, I accidentally didn't show the box score. My apologies on that. But there are now 27 players on the active roster because Brian Hayes has now been activated from the IL. He is back. So, I was thinking about it, and I figured, you know what? It's probably a good idea to send down one of these struggling starters, either Julio Urias or Mitch Keller. I've decided to go with Keller because his numbers are a little bit worse. He doesn't have any minor league options used yet, and he is still under team control for a little bit longer. I don't want to frustrate Julio Urias by the off chance that he dominates the last 2.5 months of the season, and we're sure we want to bring him back. So I think because of that, Keller will for right now be in AAA, and the plan is, here near the deadline, we're going to go out and get another arm, whether that's a starter or a lone reliever. So for right now, we're going to run a 4-man rotation. This is only for like a few days before the trade deadline. Adonis Medina is still going to be the lone reliever for right now. But if we get a starter, they will just hop into the rotation. If we get more of a lone reliever, then Adonis Medina will move into the starting rotation because I feel that he has absolutely earned it this season. Adonis has had a phenomenal rookie season. So we would actually win that series against Milwaukee. We would take the next 2 games, scoring a combined 19 runs. We would then take 1 of 3 against the Braves and then 2 of 3 against the San Diego Padres. So that'll bring us here to the trade deadline, approaching a series against the Nationals. Currently, we lead Milwaukee by 2 games in the division. And that'll end today's episode. What do you guys think we should look to do at the trade deadline? I think it's pretty simple. Pitching, pitching, pitching. The lineup looks great. The bench has been performing well, but maybe we look to go out and get another reliever. But I think the big thing is try to add a really good starter to this rotation because Mitch Keller and Julio Urias are not playing well. We can't have them playing like this going into the playoffs. Teams win World Series based on their starting rotations, and right now this is not a World Series caliber rotation at the moment. Hope everybody enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're new, and as always, have a good one. Peace.